Hey, fuckers. How the fuck you doing? Are we yeah, we're swearing.
All you motherfuckers.
Fuck for fuckers. Shout out to Ali G.
Yeah.
Welcome to the SuperShow podcast. It's a podcast ostensibly about video games. And unfortunately, I have to break the bad news early. I'm your host for this week, Jamie. But making up for that just a little bit is my co-host slash guest. We'll see how the relationship shakes out. Chris, how the fuck you doing?
I'm doing fucking exceptionally well. And as you could tell, we've woken up today and we've chosen violence. So
chosen violence
against the algorithm.
Well, it's a bit of a social experiment as well, because I don't know if people know this, but when we upload this video to YouTube, we still have to do this weird questionnaire before it gets quote unquote monetized. And they're like, level with us. How much are you swearing in this video? And we have to say like, oh, okay, we swear a little bit. And then we submit it.
The tick box is light profanity.
Light profanity. So let's see if there really is some AI monstrous machine checking every word we say and every breath we take.
Oh God, here we go. Prepare for demonetization. Prepare to be deplatformed, Jamie, is the terminology these days.
Yeah, speaking of deplatforming, Chris, the elephant not in the room, the man who has deplatformed himself, Mr. Alex Jones, after his Gran reveal last week and his brave and lauded return from the fight against COVID-19. The more acute and eagle-eyed viewers amongst you at home might notice that he's actually not here right now again. And it's not because he's got COVID-19, sort of like the what do they call it? Murmurs, like when
murmurations.
Like a week after an earthquake, where the Japanese skyscraper's still actually wobbling just a little bit. He's actually got something completely different. Long story short, Jonesy is shitting himself right now. He's got raging, abhorrent diarrhea.
Yeah, uncontrollable. Just like do you remember when you were young, Jamie, and you used to, if it's running down a fountain, if it's running down a mountain and it's flowing like a fountain, diarrhea, cha cha cha.
I thought you were gonna do if it's yellow, let it mellow, like the flushing advice.
Oh no, it's the thing, like, you're camping, you're climbing a mountain, and then it comes out of your asshole flowing like a brown fountain. That's diarrhea. That's the Alex Jones story.
The Alex Jones story. He's his arsehole has in the past week been compared to that of a leaky and rusty radiator. For those of you who felt like you needed another metaphor to kind of add to the visual picture that we're creating here around Jonesy's arsehole. So our thoughts are with him. We hope that everything
and his chocolate starfish.
And his hot dog water, for that matter.
Okay, what is hot dog water? Like, what? I get what the chocolate starfish thing is, but I don't understand.
Well, I mean, I presume the hot dog, the titular hot dog, is a man's penis, right?
I get that. Flaccid or erect?
I don't think it matters. I don't think that changes the flavour of the water it basks in.
I mean, it might.
This is like a Brainiac video. Now you need to do an experiment to see if, like, the fucking...
Yeah, so someone get Vsauce on the line.
Yeah, hey, Vsauce, Michael here. So what does hot dog flavoured water really taste like?
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. My cock is in brine.
Yeah. That's why he always shoots himself from, like, the collarbone up. Because...
I get it, because he's naked underneath.
Turns out, Vsauce Michael, sexual deviant. You heard it here. Allegedly. There's a big difference between a known...
I didn't realize how hard we were going to go with this episode, Jamie.
We're not going that hard. We're just finding our feet. That's the way that podcasts work. You just start talking and you see what happens. We could start again for all we know.
Finding our feet. This is episode, like, what, 115? Like, if there was ever any feet to be found, buddy.
Oh, no, but this is like, those long-running American sitcoms where, it actually only gets good after season 12. That's in the phase that we're at. We're like the first season of It's Always Sunny, where you're like, I can see what they're going for, but they're clearly not there yet.
So you're saying everything up to this point is been that season 1 of Always Sunny?
Just finding our feet. We're still in season 1. I'd like to think, canonically speaking. The good news, though, is that if you're enjoying season 1, you don't just have to watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on major podcasting platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. And if you don't want to listen to it on a podcasting platform, then you can also check it out on digital radio at paisleyradio.com. It's beamed out on Thursdays at 10 p.m, repeats on Mondays, so there is no shortage of ways to get your SuperShow action in your ears. The SuperShow
Yes.
flavor in your ears, actually, I think is the more appropriate.
The SuperShow flavored water. Yeah.
Here comes the brand new SuperShow flavored hot dog water in your ear. That's the new catchphrase. Spread it far and wide.
I like it. Let's do it. Coming to a Patreon tier of your choice soon, I guess.
I mean, we could. Did you see that? Was it a week or two ago? Amaranth, following the whole bathwater trend, she now is doing fart in a jar stuff.
Cutie Patootie is a company name. I know this because in my previous company we did some content around, like, you know, just like the news kind of like roundup, like fucking hell.
So you didn't like buy a jar and do like a sniff test or anything?
Well, we did reach out and we were like, hey, you know, like could you send like a review sample?
Yeah.
And she sent back actual excrement, which I then gave to Jonesy to like sniff, and I think that's probably where.
Oh, I see.
You know, his whole thing happened, and
things got mixed up, and one thing led to another, and now Jonesy has shit a solid in 4 or 5 days.
Do you remember? Do you remember in the movie, a Scary Movie, where the guy finally bones the main chick and like all the cum comes out of his body and he gets like fucking shriveled up? I imagine that's what Jonesy looks like now, but just because of like all this shit flowing out of him.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Again, we wish him the best. If that wasn't clear, and just just refuel Jonesy. I think that's the main message, the main takeaway.
Buddy, hydrate.
Exactly. Just and plenty of carbohydrate. Just firms, just solids.
Yeah,
stick to the solids.
Rice, toast, and apples, I believe, are the.
Is that actually it? Is that how you firm? Is that fiber?
Yeah, exactly. It's like keeps it all meshed.
Keeps it all meshed. Well, as Jonesy works on getting his poo meshed again, we await
as he works it all out.
Exactly. You could kind of say in a roundabout way, Chris, that his full return to the podcast has been delayed by a week.
I mean, either that or he's just fucking taking super advantage, just lazy as hell. He's like, yeah, guys, I got the diarrhea, I'm dying. And then he switches off, you know, like the message or the call or whatever it is, and then just goes back to his masturbatorium.
See, so it's possible, but then again, as someone who has genuinely needed a poo for a not short portion of a podcast before, and was probably wearing it on my face at the time, I know how pleasant that is, and I wouldn't wish that upon him.
Not just that, buddy. Do you remember those ATG live streams?
Oh yeah, I had to leave live streams to go and take. Well, because we'd always do them after lunch. Like, which fucker had the idea? Like, let's sit these guys down 3 to 5 to live. Let's look at their diets. Let's look at the lunches these filthy animals, and lock them in the room in the basement for 2 hours.
Yeah, so you were definitely like king of that, and I think Steph and myself had like 1 or 2 times where we had to dash off, but I don't think Jonesy ever had.
No, Jonesy. This is the thing. Jonesy, relatively speaking, I think was pretty in control of his bowel movements. I've got to give credit where it's due, which, again, is why we take this diarrhea situation seriously. And and we hope that he makes a safe and solid return shortly. Do you know what's not going to return to our lives that shortly, Chris?
Tell me.
Rocksteady's Suicide Squad game, a.k.a. Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, because that's been delayed until spring 2023, which, for anyone keeping count, is a whole year away.
Yeah, it's kind of mad, isn't it? So I guess this is official word, right? Because we did have reports, like almost like a month ago, I believe.
Exactly, like it was last month. We had we called them confirmed rumors, right?
Yep.
When our good friend Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg reported that the game was going to be delayed till 2023, there was some confusion around it because do you remember last year where it felt like Gotham Knights was the one that was going quiet? And then Suicide Squad had that big trailer at the Game Awards, which is, in the dying days of the year. Came out, there was gameplay in that trailer, which we haven't seen from Gotham Knights for ages. And they
Allegedly.
were like, well, yeah, we'll see.
Allegedly.
But then it was like 2022. And I was like, oh shit, you wouldn't say this now unless you meant it. And it turns out they just never meant it. And now Gotham Knights is coming out this year. In like October or something like that?
Well, exactly. Yeah, okay, hold on. Like, it's far enough in the year that they could delay it to the following year.
Absolutely, they could. Absolutely, they could.
Although,
secretly, I hope they don't.
Okay, so this is the thing. with like Warner Brothers games, because that's kind of like the the publishing arm. Even though that's been split up, so I don't even like. It's all just a big fucking clusterfuck, and I don't know where to kind of like come down on it. But if you look at Warner Brothers as being Warner Brothers, okay, they've got to release a game this year. Okay.
Well,
like
okay.
Okay. Well, so just here are my.
I can think of a couple.
Exactly. They've got to release a game this year. It's got to be a profitable game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is at the very least. Now, if you're just looking at like Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, and you say, okay, Suicide Squad's been delayed. Oh, but don't worry, we got Gotham Knights coming out this year. That's a big game. But we spoke about it last week. There's an even bigger fucking game that's meant to be coming out this year.
Yep, Lego Star Wars. I'm glad you mentioned it, Chris. No, I'm joking. No. You're right, yeah. You're talking Hogwarts Legacy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, in theory, they don't need to keep Gotham Knights, to kind of like draw a line under their fucking budgets and shit for the year.
True. But at the same time, when you delay the Suicide Squad, not just into 2023, but specifically into spring 2023, it does kind of give that idea of, okay, maybe the aforementioned Lego Star Wars is their spring/early summer filler. Then they're going to go in, they're going to let Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights take up two different spots in the fall, and hopefully, in their mind, two different audiences, or I think there's actually going to, although I personally think there'll be a fair amount of crossover there in terms of mainstream consumers. And then Suicide Squad is going to take that spot, the increasingly popular spot, in sort of February, March, April, where, as a bunch of different games, in particular Elden Ring, reminded us this year, you can make a shitload of money releasing a game in February or March if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's this, okay? So, so we allegedly saw some gameplay in the previous trailer for Suicide Squad. And if you compare it to the initial gameplay that we saw of Gotham Knights, which a lot of people said looked a bit ropey, etc. Like, I didn't think it looked that bad, but obviously it needed some polish here and there.
Sure.
And maybe some rethinking of some stuff. But it definitely seemed that, like, Gotham Knights at that time... So at that time that gameplay trailer came out, it was like, Gotham Knights is the gameplay trailer, Suicide Squad had the cinematic trailer. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like, oh, okay, so Gotham Knights is ready and Suicide Squad isn't. Obviously, a lot of time has progressed since then.
Yes.
But looking at the two gameplay things, which is, to be fair, it's not fair because it's like years apart, etc. But it would seem that Suicide Squad is definitely gunning for that like next gen kind of gameplay and stuff. Whereas Gotham Knights kind of seemed to me to be that kind of like that bridge game between like which was the current gen to the next gen. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Are you on my level? Are you?
I am on your level, which makes sense. I think also when you think of consider the fact that, despite the fact that Batman is most definitely not one of the key or marketable playable characters in Gotham Knights, Gotham Knights was still the game that was positioned as, hey, here's that Arkham continuation.
Yeah.
Here's the game for people who have been waiting for something to play since Arkham Knight, which, by the way, Chris, came out all the way back in 2015, which means this delay confirms an 8-year gap between releases for Rocksteady. Pretty hefty, but maybe also just mad. The way things work at the moment, question mark? It's happening to some other studios, that's for sure.
It is kind of mad. Like, I remember Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
Kind of how long and storied and delayed that was. And then you just kind of think to yourself, that's just becoming the norm now, that amount of time between entries. Like, you look at stuff like Red Dead, now it escapes me to get like, well, you could say like Skyrim to whatever the next fucking Elder Scrolls is going to be. And it's just like, that's just the norm, because as games get bigger and bigger and more ambitious, like shit's going to take a lot more time to like happen.
Yeah. And like things are changing, generations are changing, technology's changing. I think the demands of publishers and boards of directors and the way you monetize experiences is always changing, and how you can make games that factor into that. And we, as often at times as players, we don't want them to, but they have to. Yeah, that stuff changes all the time. Probably makes it really difficult to answer the question of like, hey, what do video games look like in 4 years' time? Because that's what we're aiming for. really hard question to answer.
Yeah, fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, games.
Games.
Let's sack off games, Jamie. Like, maybe games is too much to cover. Like,
I mean, again, if we've established we're in season 1, it's not too late to pivot. We could just be like The Wire and just have a wildly different focus on different parts of the same thing.
So the next season will be Crypto Bros.
Yes, exactly.
And the season after that will be makeup and beauty. That is like top tier CPMs, my friend.
Those are real growth markets right there. I like your thinking. And just constantly pivot.
Let me ask you a question, Jamie. Are you ready to spill the tea? Do you have the receipts?
I do have the receipts, but I spilt the tea on the receipts, and now they're quite hard to read.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Well, back to the drawing board, I guess. Maybe we do have to stick to gaming.
Do you know what? You gave me a weird reminder there. I have this, I was about to say, how you fall down YouTube holes. Of course you know how you fall down YouTube holes, because it's what people like you and me spend most of our lives doing.
Yeah.
I fell down this YouTube hole once, and it wasn't that long ago, where I started watching these pizza reviews, and it's this guy called Dave Portnoy, who is the president of Barstool Sports, which is a media company in the US. And they
I recognize the name, yeah.
Yeah, he does these daily pizza reviews, and they're like he says one bite, everyone knows the rules, and then proceeds to take more than one bite, and that's part of the gimmick. And it's one of these things where you watch one and you get recommended, and you're watching the one from the day before and the day before that, and all of a sudden you're just watching back-to-back videos of this guy just reviewing pizza around the US, pizza you'll never eat, and you're like, I don't know why, but I really want to watch this thing. And that spawned this rabbit hole of falling further down into, okay, what is Barstool Sports? Because they don't obviously cover European sports, and they cover not just American sports and college level American sports, but with a very there's a gambling kind of overture to everything, which doesn't really play and get much audience out here. So I was sort of figuring out what they were all about, and one of the products they had was a podcast called, I think it's either called Call Me Daddy or Call Her Daddy. And you talking about like spill the tea and having the receipts, it was one of those podcasts, and it was these two sort of early 20s socialite girls talking about dates that they'd gone on and talking about how to fuck guys and all this blowjob techniques, all this mad stuff.
As part of Barstool.
Yeah, and it came under Barstool's umbrella, and then I looked it up, and it turns out it wasn't under Barstool's umbrella anymore because Spotify bought it for like $100 million. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's crazy to think, and don't get me wrong, I know there are the Rogans out there that are also making unfathomable amounts of money. Yeah. But, like, it is weird to think that podcasting has become this thing that's something so niche, and that something that you assume just wouldn't have that wide an audience actually can almost secretly have hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of listeners, and be worth that much money.
You know what? You're giving me hope here, Jamie, because I was thinking, like, my thoughts on sometimes where it's like, oh, I'm the dick man, and I always make the dick jokes, and
the dick man, the dick man,
the dick man delivers, and and I kind of worry about like, oh, are we doing a disservice to ourselves and our podcast? But hey, if like two chicks can talk about their blowjob techniques and get bought by Spotify for millions of dollars, then there's hope. There's hope. Not a lot of hope for us. I think they were too old and too white and too male to have that go for us. But there is even as a modicum of hope there, a sliver. Then I'll take it.
Yeah, I found the numbers, by the way. So to comment on their growth, they went from 12,000 downloads to 2 million downloads in the space of just 2 months. I guess that's on a per episode basis. So that was the speed of the growth. And they signed an exclusivity deal with Spotify for $60 million. So, and by the way, I will just say it looks like it is just one of the two women now. So congratulations to, I believe, Alexandra Cooper. But what do they say, Chris? They got the bag? Secured the bag. Secured the bag.
Stroked the shaft. Blowjobs for everyone.
See, this is the fucked up thing, is you give great blowjob advice, and I know because you've given me blowjob advice personally. I took it all on board, and I have had great results when it's come to self-fellation.
Yeah. Just got to get rid of those ribs, baby.
Maybe that's the, you talk about all the things we could pivot into, Maybe that's the side of the die that we're missing, is that we just need to talk about sucking dick.
Do you think if you could create a hybrid human dog, it wouldn't actually be worth it because they'd just constantly be licking their own balls and sucking their own dick?
I think it would cause a lot of issues and raise a lot of really important humanitarian questions. I think that amongst the foremost, though, it would be pretty fucking stupid and would spend a lot of time just wanking uncontrollably.
I mean, there's not much different to how it is now, Jamie. Like, be honest.
Don't ask me how I spent my afternoon. Anyway, shall we do the comment of the week?
Please.
Okay, how about this for you, Chris? Why?
Hold
Callum?
on, have we finished the Rocksteady thing? I've lost track.
I mean, I felt like we. If we didn't finish it, then I finished it because I just went on a massive tangent about dick sucking podcasts. So
fair enough.
I put a pin in it one way or another.
Come for the games. Stay for the.
Come for the games.
Come for the games.
Come for the games. Stay tuned to the end of the podcast for a JPEG of Chris's Elden Ring tribute.
Come for the games, my Elden Ring.
Yeah, I mean, fits like a glove.
Oh God. Let's just stop it. You're filth now, all right?
Can't help it.
All right, cool. Yeah, comment of the week. I was about to say Callum of the week.
Yeah, there's a reason because this one actually comes in from Why Callum. Why Callum not being the question, but being the user who has typed in this comment of the week, and they say, "Good to see you all back, lads." Again,
you spoke too soon.
Yeah. Diarrhea. Spoke to Chris recently on his stream about how brilliant the podcast is. Started listening from episode 1 and haven't stopped listening since. Brackets. Yes, I'm a listener. Came here just to comment. #algorithm. Gotta love that.
Hell yeah.
Wanted to share that I'll always hold you fondly as I listen to your podcast during the 1 hour of outdoor exercise time in lockdown 1. Which, for anyone that doesn't track the reference, that was when the UK government were like, okay, it's a lockdown, but yes, you can go for an hour of exercise a day if you must. Keep up the great and entertaining work. That one, once again, coming in from Why Callum. Thank you very much, Callum. That's a kind comment.
So Callum kind of like stopped by my stream when I was streaming some Elden Ring. And
what's the URL for that?
Oh, yes. twitch.tv/hot panic.
Oh, that's good. I might favourite that, actually.
Oh, nice.
I think I've got a bookmark.
Maybe give me a follow. But yeah, he stopped by the podcast to kind of like say like, oh, such a fan, etc. And it always feels a bit kind of awkward, doesn't it? Because I can categorically say that I can speak for you and Jonesy when I say that like we've never felt kind of like these people, like, oh, those are the dudes from YouTube and this, that, the other. Like, we're just like awkward bros just talking about games, right?
Sure.
Like, you don't feel like an influencer, do you?
No, I don't think. I mean, I was about to say I don't think we've ever been big enough to be. It's never felt like we've been big enough to be an influencer.
Well, we're certainly not big enough as a SuperShow, but it just kind of like it sounds so weird, but it always still, even like all these years later, when someone says like, oh yeah, like you helped me during the lockdown or fighting depression, or even just like, oh, you entertain me and you help me with my work, commute to work, etc. Like, it still blows my mind that people like come here for us, especially when all we do is talk about dicks and masturbating podcasts and shit. Maybe that's the appeal. I don't know, but yeah, I get blown away by it, and it just kind of, it's such a surreal thing. So when to have someone and like having a comment like this is very different to someone coming onto your stream and being like, oh yeah, dude, you guys are great. It's like, I'm not great. I'm just a dude in front of a camera that you just happen to click on.
I mean, hey, you can still be great though. Like,
yeah, but I don't think I'm great. I
mean, neither do I, but I'm saying you could be.
With enough masturbation, Jamie, anybody could be great.
This is true, actually. It does give you a real nice pop, little confidence booster. The adrenaline rushes. I'm kind of with you. Like, I think the main word that you said that resonates with me is surreal. Which is to say, like, I don't know. It's almost hard to put into words because it just doesn't really. Not in a negative way. It just doesn't really feel like anything. It almost feels like they're mistaken. Like like even though
Yeah.
they're just being honest. It's like, well, I get where you're coming from, but you're wrong.
Yeah, I just feel like it's like a gag or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at some point, I got to say, like, you guys can't be serious.
I mean, I think the reassuring thing, Chris, is for most people, it's absolutely not the case, and we are just those random fucking weirdos that they sometimes listen to, but mostly don't actually make it through an entire podcast because of how fucking annoying we are.
Hey, I've got the analytics to prove that fact, so yes.
Exactly. Thank you for clicking off halfway through. We appreciate you, and you are heard, and you are seen. The other question, actually, or the other thought that was raised when I first saw White Callum's comment was when he mentioned that he listened to the podcast during the 1 hour of outdoor exercise time. It reminded me a little bit of the kind of it's kind of applied to all media in general, but especially podcasts. Sort of podcast association, where when you only listen to certain things, doing certain podcasts when you're doing certain things. Yeah, which reminded me of a time where I'm just gonna be transparent. It's not a fun story to say, but I'll say it anyway. My bathroom at one time, because I was just too obnoxious and oblivious to do anything about it, fell into a state of disrepair. It needed a deep
too
and
much
thorough.
masturbation.
Too much of everything. I think Jonesy could actually relate right now to the kind of the state that I was regularly creating in that bathroom. And at one point, I'd like to think on some level depression was in the mix, but I don't really also want to like make excuses myself. But it got to the point where I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're a grown man. Do something about it. And I was like, so I went to the supermarket and I just bought every single like Mr. Muscle product that's on the market. Like everything that looked like it would just fucking obliterate a bathroom. I bought it. And I was like, well, I need to listen to something while I'm doing this. And I put on one of the old episodes of the Giant Bombcast back when they were either A, tolerable, and B, like 3 hours long. And just sat there for like fucking 2 hours, just
scrubbing,
deep cleaning a toilet that would have made a public bathroom blush.
That is amazing, Jamie. You've never told me that before, and I love the idea of you. Like, did you have like those like those gloves, the like marigold gloves? Yes, hands and knees, just kind of doing that, just kind of like bopping to the Giant Bomb.
Even if I did have like I'm not even gonna say that because it wades into weird misogynistic territory. Like every dude's got to clean a fucking toilet at some point in their life, right?
100%,
like
100%.
We've all got to man
on
up
the daily.
Exactly.
Way I fucking destroy it.
But we've all got to man up and put on gloves. And like some people look like the opposite of the kind of person that might do that. And I know that I might be one of those people. But like, yeah, I don't want to live in a pigsty. You know, at some point you've got to like.
Hey.
You got to, one of the weird things about living on your own, especially during sort of some of the quieter periods of lockdown, was just having those days where you wake up, look yourself in the mirror, and be like, "Nah, like come on, like fucking, like be better, do better."
Yeah, have a shower. It's been 5 days.
Exactly. Yeah, which is still a regular conversation I have to have with myself.
Yeah. I'm on a 2-day schedule
for showers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
I'm not going out much. Like, what's the fight? I'm not a dirty person.
Yeah, but you live with someone that would turn around and go like, "Chris, you fucking stink."
I don't smell though.
But this is the thing,
and that's not a flex. Like, I'm one of those people that just don't have a body odor.
At what point would you start to smell?
Did you ever read that book, Perfume?
No, I haven't.
Right. Well, there we go. At what point? I don't know. Maybe like 5 days probably. I'd say there'd definitely be some funk.
So you do smell. Everyone's gonna smell. Like, you can't say I don't smell and then go on and say like after 5 days I smell.
If I sweat, that sweat is not smelly sweat.
Right. Okay.
Like, we used to work with someone. You just look at them and they stink.
So I think some people look at me and say I stink. I know that for a fact.
You smell like powder.
No, I know that for a fact, and I probably have smelt rough. But that, like, again, I have the opposite of you, which is like, I'm a big guy. There's a lot of folds. There's a lot of creases. There's a lot of sweat. Sometimes I start sweating the second I come out of the shower. It's like, it's a constant struggle. Like, I'm not going to smell like
Jamie,
perfume.
you know, let me do you a solid here, okay? I have been in a 2x2 VO booth wedged between you and Jonesy.
Yes, you have.
On like the hottest days recorded in London. And the smell was not the issue.
Okay, I'm not going to ask what was, but actually smell would probably
I just remember the one day when we came out of that VO booth and I was like wiping sweat off of me and I realized that's not my sweat.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
Kind of like,
yeah. Like there was a window on that VO booth door, and after about 5 to 10 minutes, you could write on it, and it was like, that's just.
It's like that scene in Titanic where it's like the hand.
Except it's sweat. That's
And
just
semen.
pure sweat. Well,
Yeah.
there's always a little bit in there. Again, you can't get rid of all of it.
Hey, you couldn't have a 6-list without some semen. Come on.
No, you know what else you can't have without semen?
Mm.
A Patreon. Because
True.
setting up a Patreon, running a Patreon, and inviting people to support said Patreon, it requires spunk. Okay, it requires
I like it.
charisma, and that's what we've got in the ball full. The ball.
But by the testicle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
there you go.
there. Something there.
So you can head to patreon.com/SuperShow, and if you'd like to, you can support the Super Show from as little as $2 a month. What you'll find when you head over there is various tiers, and at each tiers we give away certain rewards and exclusives just for our patrons. So if you wanted Patreon exclusive podcasts, if you wanted Patreon exclusive videos, behind the scenes looks at how we not just do this, but have done other productions in the past, all the way back to when we still had a studio space in the tail end of the ATG days. If you wanted to see never before seen pilots from those ATG days, if you want to see just about anything, head over to patreon.com/supershow. Take a look at the tiers, take a look at the rewards, and if you would like to pledge as little or as much as you like, we would very much appreciate it. And some people that have done exactly that and have earned themselves a shout out for their generosity today are Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Cole K, Helium Joker, I Snort Rock Salt, I Snort Sea Salt, Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Leo Merger, Mindful Pig, Mr. Anthropic, Nathan Piers, Neil, Daniel, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid. Seems like a typo, but I'll read it anyway. The Ballless Beauty, the Gorgeous Gelding, the Perfectly Symmetrical Stunner, the one and only Mark Clancy. Someone's been playing a lot of WWE 2K22, got the wrestling name out in full effect.
I like it. It's good.
And the big dogs, the head honchos, Brett Z, Doppler, Geometric Potter, Hacksaw Book Read, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and The Uncaged. Thank you all so much, ladies, gents, and everyone else, for supporting us. What were you wowing my everyone else?
No. I'm saying wow. Thank you for the support. Not like. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's the fundamental. That's the bottom line. Thank you for support. Thank you for pledging. Thank you for continuing to let us do whatever it is the fuck we're doing. Again, season 1, we're figuring it out.
Hey, you are directly responsible for keeping Jonesy alive. He's sat shitting his guts out right now, but he knows that he's got the Patreon money to look forward to. So
yeah,
it helps.
He refreshes the Patreon page while he's sat at the toilet, and every time the total number of donations or pledges goes down, he shits a little bit more of his life essence out through his.
God. Could we do maybe next week? We could do a shitathon.
You'd have to elaborate on exactly what that means before I sign off.
You know how like Ludwig had like
the subathon. Sure,
we're just gonna have a shitathon, and every time someone pledges to the Patreon, Jonesy's got to produce another turd.
Oh, but that starts getting into weird things where, like, does he start sort of almost rationing out his shit so he makes sure he's got a little bit in reserve every time someone new comes in?
Yeah, exactly. And it's this nice interplay of like having to hold it in and then the relief of letting it go. But the also interesting thing is that we could have different tiers. So if there's like a super subber, right, or super patron, then depending on the tier, then maybe it's like no, you got to take some laxative now.
Yeah, I think that's
let
plausible.
it all out of you, and then, but we need to give him fuel, and that's where we get the Maccas in.
Right. I'll be honest, if the plan to refuel him from such an act is McDonald's, I legitimately think we'd have a homicide case on our hands. Like, this is manslaughter territory, Chris. We need to be more rational about this.
Well, you know what? You want to keep on thinking small, Jamie? That's fine, all right? That's fine.
Hey, if avoiding the death of one of the co-hosts of this podcast is thinking small, then I'm thinking small until the end of time.
Fair.
But I want to do my utmost to keep everyone alive.
Can I just say that, like, as soon as Jonesy's like on the mend, and all jokes aside, like he's having a bit of a tough time. So when he comes back, we'll be sure to record something new for the patron. I wanted to say something though. I had a bit of a Mandela effect going on because I was sure that we had uploaded the Summoner Quest IRL tabletop RPG that we did for ATG. I was sure that we uploaded it to Patreon.
Right. Is it on the YouTube channel unlisted on the SuperShow Extra YouTube channel?
I don't think it is, and I don't think we posted it. So that'll be going up. Like I've got it. It'll be going up soon. Another thing that I've got that I'm kind of like holding on for maybe the right time, but maybe I just got to put it up. Is I have the original 3 episodes of our Resident Evil playthrough, buddy.
Hot damn! How did you get hold of those bad boys?
I have my ways, you know.
Oh wow, you are.
I'm not the only lady who runs a podcast who knows her blowjobs.
No, clearly not. $60 million Spotify deal heading your way, good sir, for your trickery there.
Nice.
Yeah, imagine if that just becomes the thing that we do. Is we just use the Super Show to host re-uploads of all-time gaming content. I mean, some people would probably dig it, but
yeah, I don't know. It's almost like one of those things, right, where you don't want it to become a point of people don't care about your new stuff, they only care about the old stuff.
Yes, exactly. We got to keep things fresh.
It's a fine balance, and I think there's not a lot of ATG stuff on the Patreon. There's a few things, and it's more curated stuff that like we want to be on there rather than just here's fucking any old thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, do you know what? One of the things, bare minimum, that I'd love to do on the Patreon this year is I don't know why, but I've always had a soft spot in my heart for them. I want to do at least one more spoiler cast somehow, and I have no idea what piece of media it will be, or when, or why. We just need something to come out that fucking lights not just the internet up, but us up, that we all consume at the exact same time and can reconvene and discuss. I just don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, we need like a Squid Game, or I mean, we did it with Final Fantasy. The best one was just Last of Us Part 2.
That was the perfect one where
it was the perfect one. Where that was like it. You finished it first, obviously, but it didn't take much longer for Jonesy and I to finish it at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was still relatively fresh, and I guess that was a controversial enough storyline that, getting into the meat of it, of like what was a technically very good game with a technically flawed, or you could say like subjectively flawed story, is just like a perfect kind of cross section to do a spoiler cast on.
Yeah. Hence why we managed to talk about that game for 3 hours straight in the what was actually, after joking about it earlier, the hottest day of the year that year.
Yeah. Do you remember I was wearing a sweatband?
That does ring a bell, actually. I was wearing a white t-shirt. I think my hair was still coming back. I think that was at that point in this podcast trajectory. Yeah, exactly. Still rocking the Bam Bam Bigelow. And do you know what, Chris? Another game that would have been interesting for some kind of a spoiler cast, although even if we were all on board and all playing it, we probably still wouldn't be able to record anything on it for weeks, if not months, because of just how much there is to consume and then break down and then discuss, is still probably the internet's favourite game, Elden Ring. Oh. And I understand you've managed to carve out a little bit of time in your schedule to play it over this past week.
Yes, so welcome to Chris's Elden Ring Hour, which will only be a minute or two. Yeah, obviously I don't need to wax lyrical about how fucking great this game is. You know my opinion on it. It is fucking amazing. And the internet's opinion of it is mostly it is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to... I think what I'm going to transition to now is just talking about like my progress within the game. So as of today, I'm on 32 hours. I'm level 43, I believe. And I've pretty much done everything in the starting area of Limgrave.
Okay.
The only things that I have yet to do in Limgrave is I can't beat the fucking Crucible Knight. He's fucking... I don't know what it is about him. He's got like no weaknesses. He's got like fucking a combo set to rival like the biggest boss. And he's just like... He's one of those dudes that you go to one of these like ever jails and it summons him and then you fight him.
Right.
He's just really fucking hard. I just can't do it. I don't know why. It's because I'm a melee build and it's just too hard. I'm halfway through, or I'd say more halfway through. I'm about two-thirds of the way through Stormvale Castle. So Godric the Grafted is going to be my next kind of stream, I would imagine, taking him on. And then there's an underground portion of that map area that I have yet to do, which I will be probably tackling tomorrow as we record this.
Nice.
But yeah, like it's amazing to me. Like, this is one area in a game of, I mean, I know of at least 3 to 4, let's call it 3 to 5 different areas that I know of that would be of the same scale, and it's taken me 32 hours. Just because I'm relishing the journey, Jamie. I'm not chasing that end. I'm living in that world, baby.
For sure, yeah. No, you've got to take it at your own pace.
Hell yeah. And still fucking loving it. It's mad.
Good.
It's a bit annoying at the same time because the game is so all consuming. That's like, when you've got spare time, what are you going to do? What are you going to play?
Yeah. What you mean? Like, does it work for those short burst sessions, or do you feel like?
It does. It does, but it's kind of like it always pushes you. It's like that Breath of the Wild thing with the triangles that they were saying, right? When the design document came out with GDC, and they were saying, hey, triangles. The game is actually made of all these little triangles, and triangles behind triangles, and stuff behind triangles, and triangles moving into triangles. And the idea there is that as you move, your perspective always your eyesight always gets drawn to something else on the horizon that you want to go to and explore. And on the way there, you will be finding XYZ, even if they are small little things, like, let's say, Korok seeds. But in this case, it'll be like someone trying to gnaw your face off.
Yes.
It's always kind of pushing you forward. But yeah, it's almost like the same shit that I had when I was really deep into playing Dota. And it's kind of like, I've got X amount of time. What am I going to do? I'm just going to play Dota. Instead of like sampling all these other games.
Yeah, but that's okay because we all know what it's like to be on the other side of that, which is where there are maybe a handful of games vying for your attention, but none of them scream out at you. And your answer to what do I do with this chunk of time that I've got becomes, I'm going to sit and waste time on YouTube watching videos that I can't even recollect watching 2 hours after I've finished watching them. Or I'm going to rewatch a show or a movie I've already watched on Netflix. Like, at least you're still consuming something that's new, something that's engaging, and something that is, at the end of the day, up to this point, the most critically acclaimed game of the year, and will be relevant in conversations again and podcasts again at the end of the year and so on. Like, there are worse ways to use your time than playing Elden Ring.
Yeah. But I do have some free time coming up, and I am trying to make it a mission. I have 2 games earmarked that I want to finish alongside continuing playing Elden Ring.
Yes.
So, let's see if I can manage it in...
Are you keeping them secret for now?
I think so. I don't want to put that much pressure on me. Just know that they exist, and I'd like to see at least one of them, if not both of them. Actually, 3, if not 3 of them, kind of wrapped up.
Ooh.
Yeah, like in 2 to 3 weeks' time.
Okay, well, watch the space, folks.
Yeah, I can tell you one of them is Sifu, because that's like the most recent other game that I played.
That makes sense. And Sifu might be one of those games where I think if you went back to it now, sort of maybe 1 month on, you could sort of, to a certain extent, pick up where you left off. But if you came back to Sifu in September, you might have to relearn some things that you've forgotten.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, which might be tricky. Although someone on our Discord did finish it this week, which, again, I thought was very interesting, having spent a lot of time over the past month saying, it's weird how no one I've spoken to or no one I know outside of the media or press fucking has ever finished Sifu. Everyone bought it, everyone played it, no one finished it. Has anyone finished Sifu? So it turns out some people have.
Some people have, yeah. Hey, hopefully I can be one of them, all right?
Watch the space, folks.
But yeah, that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing, Jamie? Come on.
I've been playing...
Because I know what you'll not be playing. You have not been playing Elden Ring because you've got other shit that you want to finish first. And that's fair.
I've not been playing
although I'm waiting, bated breath.
It's the SuperShow guarantee, Chris. I mean, even beyond Elden Ring, I think 3 separate games had their review embargoes come down in the past week. Between Ghostwire Tokyo, Kirby, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. and right on brand, between you, me, and Jonesy, I don't think any of us have played any of them because backlogs be backlogging. I'm still playing a bunch of the titles that I mentioned last week. The 2 I wanted to chime back in on for 2 different reasons are Dying Light 2, which I don't know how much I've played of that game now, maybe 8 to 10 hours.
Is that it?
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. I'm really struggling
to enjoy
I'm really struggling to enjoy it. Yeah, this is a weird analogy, but Formula One, the motorsport, is back. And had it. The first Grand Prix was last weekend, and there's a concept in Formula One about grip, where the more grip you have, the better, because you can go faster and you can take tighter turns and blah 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 blah. And like grip is this weird mix of a bunch of different things. Like there's aerodynamics and downforce, and it's also like tire choice and track conditions.
Yeah, and the how hot the tires are.
But exactly. And there's a weird situation where I am like a driver right now doing a lap of a circuit at the fucking Dying Light 2 arena, and I'm radioing back to the team in the pit saying, I've got no grip. Is it because I've come out on slicks in the wet? Is it because they're not up to temperature? Is it because my rear wing's playing up and I don't have any downforce? I don't know, but there's no grip. And like everything I'm doing with to now put it, to leave stupid analogies to one side and get back to actually talking about video games, I find the characters to be these often quite, I'm not going to say frustrating, but just slightly bizarre caricatures, both in the way they're written and the way they're performed. That adds and lends absolutely zero gravitas to anything they're saying. Whether they are
Rosario Dawson doesn't do it for you.
I haven't met her yet. And hey, she's got chops. I'm sure she'll do fine. Although the script, based on what I've heard so far, probably isn't going to help her that much. The decisions that I've had to make have all felt weirdly redundant. Like there's actually not going to be that many dramatic repercussions for my decisions, and it just, as a result, feels like a weirdly hollow game that is driven forward by above average gameplay mechanics.
Right.
Because I still think the parkour is really strong, and I still think the ideas of a really sort of meaty, chunky, melee-driven combat system have legs. There's a reason they worked for 2 Dead Islands, and then a Dying Light, and now another Dying Light. They haven't changed it because it works, but nothing else that I'm doing makes me feel particularly engaged by that world or the narrative they're building or the decisions they're trying to get me to invest in. And weirdly, what it feels like was a game that, and again, you don't want to play backseat game developer and read into this too much, but they had all those issues from the narrative side of things. Chris Avallone obviously had his situation and left, and they were kind of, it felt like at some point they were left with a husk of a narratively ambitious game that they couldn't stuff with content, and so everything has remained somewhat surface level, in the hope that creating solid gameplay fundamentals and making solid mechanical decisions would be enough for the game to say swim rather than sink. It's just not really working for me.
So let me ask you this: Did you find the grip with Dying Light 1, and did it take time for you to find the grip?
Dying Light 1, personally, I did find the grip, and it didn't take as much time. And weirdly enough, the grip in Dying Light 1 was actually not because the narrative in Dying Light 1 was particularly strong. It wasn't. But it was because the atmosphere in Dying Light 1 was infinitely more engaging than Dying Light 2's.
Interesting.
They've gone for this, I can't remember what they called it during marketing. It's like the modern Dark Ages, right? Where it's like it all takes place within a town or a city that walled itself off from the infection. And so as a result, like, they're struggling for food, and fighting over water is a big deal, and like it's not that technologically advanced, and so humanity's kind of regressing within this closed off area. But they really de-emphasize the presence and the importance of the zombies. Like they mostly just are made out to be kind of like a nuisance who might be either in the place or between you and the place where you're trying to get to. And actually it's like the different human factions that you're negotiating with that they try and make the big play around. But like kind of like water off a duck's back. It's just not.
So really what you want is a Mirror's Edge 3.
That's what I'm trying to say at the end of the day.
I get
Bring faith into Dying Light, and we've got a winner.
Fair, yeah.
Although, to be fair, the character you're playing as, in terms of the role they play within the world, might as well be what Faith was in the Mirror's Edge games. He's basically, they're called pilgrims. Yeah, they're called pilgrims in this, but they're basically like, oh, these are the people that actually do leave the towns and run from city to city and do stuff.
Hold on, so have they made the main character, have they kind of like formulated the main character's identity around fetch quests?
It's not too fetchy, but technically his main story, his whole arc is somewhat fetchy. It's just that the thing he's fetching is a person rather than an inanimate object. But yeah, like if you are going to count looking for a missing person as a fetch quest, then that's what Dying Light 2 is, start to finish.
Fine, fair.
Yeah.
Are you gonna stick with it? Like, because at some point, like, especially on a game where it's like, you could finish it in 20 to 25 hours, or you could finish it in 500. Obviously, if you're not finding the grip, like,
do you know what? I'm gonna stick to the same principles that I stuck with in Far Cry 6, which is that I'm not gonna put this game down just to start playing something else for no arbitrary reason. But if life moves on in the same way that happened to Far Cry when things like Horizon and Elden Ring and stuff were coming out, then I will move on too.
You should have that motivation anyway because you haven't played Elden Ring.
Yeah, but there's also stuff like, I don't know, the reviews for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands were slightly better than I expected, and I feel like I could play a Borderlands spin-off game right now. Yeah, I could also play Kirby right now, but we'll wait and see. It's a week till I'm paid, and then I've got some decisions to make. Although things are going to chill, really, aren't they? In April, things are going to relax, and then summer will be fine, and we'll
I mean, yeah, we assume so, right? But
that's what it looks like at the moment, unless you are really looking forward to, what was it, like Sniper Elite 5, and there was something else.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There are a few things, but like for me, those titles are kind of like, if you pick them up, you don't like. It's going to sound really weird for me to say, especially in kind of like what we're trying to put ourselves out there is saying like, hey, we're the game guys. A game like Sniper Elite 5 is very much you buy it, you play a couple of missions, and you just leave it. You never return.
Oh yeah. I said that as much to someone on the Discord this week, where they can't remember who it was. It might have been Shell Shock, where they mentioned that they were looking forward to Sniper Elite 5. And I was like, Sniper Elite, not just this one, but as a series, is kind of like one of those things where it's like a novelty. Like, shoot someone in the brain, shoot someone in the balls, it's Sniper Elite. Why don't I work in the marketing team for these fuckers? And then I move on.
Yeah.
Often the way things go. One game that is not proving to be the case with, though.
Hold on, though, because you haven't. Sorry, but I'm not letting you get away from this.
Okay.
Where does the threshold come with Dying Light 2? Like, I know you said, if some income comes up, blah 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 blah. But like,
I don't want to preempt anything. I'm basically going to give it at least another 2 weeks. There's a few things going down in a few weeks. One of which I haven't even told you about yet. But I'm not going to say it will result in the receiving of any game keys or codes, but it might do. And it's also just keeping tabs on what else happens that was not as expected, because the other game I'm going to talk about in a second was something that wouldn't have really been on my radar until it was very much on my radar. So just keeping it funky fresh, basically. I'm looking down there. I've got a sealed copy of Resident Evil Village. Like, who knows, Chris? I might just start playing that.
You might feel like a bit of a fuckboy and just do whatever you want to do, right?
That's what the being a fuckboy is all about. Like, why embrace the fuckboy mantra if you're not just going to fuck around and do what you want?
Hell yeah.
Fuck around and find out.
Yes, okay, I'll release you from Dying Light 2, okay? Talk about your next one.
Tunic's really good, basically.
Tunic. Nice.
And it's funny, because I was worried about this before we started recording. If I start telling you why I like Tunic, you're going to start grinding your teeth and clenching your fists, because you're just because I know you want me to play Elden Ring and talk to you about Elden Ring. But I really like Tunic because it's a Souls-like, and it's like a small enough, bite-sizable enough, cute enough Souls-like that I can engage with those mechanics, and it's sometimes, while difficulty swings, in a way that sort of fits me a little bit better.
That's perfectly okay. Like, I'll tell you something. So games like Tunic are perfect for getting into the Souls-like genre, because it's kind of like it's getting into it on your terms in a way. Like, you almost need that kind of like smaller way of doing things, or more simplified or more streamlined way of doing things, where it's like, hey, here are the tropes of that kind of genre, and it's resonate with me. Let me seek out the next and the next and the next. So by all means.
Yeah. And yeah, it's hitting all those notes, and I'm getting that kind of that wave of satisfaction you get when you clear a boss and you know you're never going to have to see them again, or when you find, I guess they're like shrines in this as opposed to, say, bonfires, where you can, get your healing flasks back and so on and so forth, or you add an entire additional healing flask to the number you've got. Those are really powerful feelings that kind of capture a little bit, I think, of what Soulsborne games have delivered to people in the past.
Didn't you get that kind of feeling? I guess it's a lot more narrative driven, but didn't you get that kind of feeling with Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't find Jedi Fallen Order hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard.
I think that was the thing. Like, they were making a game that was very heavily inspired by that style and that genre of title, but they were also making a Star Wars game. My brother played Jedi Fallen Order when he was like 11 or 12. They had to know that they were making a game that would reach those kinds of people.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't too overbearing. Because the other thing that Tunic actually has going for it, that again is very, very Souls-like in its nature, is its obscurity. It's a very opaque game in terms of what it tells you and what it doesn't tell you, and what it wants you to figure out for yourself. Like anyone that looks at Tunic and sees a tilt shift styled Zelda looking action game could not be more wrong about just how intense this game can be, and how, as I said, how like mysterious it can be. It's a game, one of those games that just starts and tells you absolutely nothing. It's still got those Zelda-like elements. If you have to explore certain areas, you have to, at the start of the game, you just have a stick. You need to go and find the sword. You need to go and find the shield. You need to collect bombs along the way. There's magic elements that you collect. But everything is...
So far, Jamie, sounding very below.
But honestly, Chris, like, this is in many respects what Below should have been.
Yeah. This is the thing. Like, Below was way too hard for its own good. Way too hard.
Whereas this is far more like Souls-like, and it's kind of like, okay, there's going to be some difficult regular enemies, but you're going to figure them out. There's going to be really difficult bosses, but you're going to figure them out. The punishment for death isn't mental. There's no, eating and drinking and temperature mechanics like Below. But it's got that idea of Below of like, you're a small character in a very big world that the game is determined to tell you nothing about, and yet leave just enough breadcrumbs that you always feel like you're learning something fascinating. Like, one of the things about Tunic that people have said reminds them a lot of Fez is that, so Tunic doesn't tell you anything in English, ever. There are no, everything is in its own language. So every signpost you find, every plaque that you read, everything is in this language that you cannot read. And the only way you're able to pass like what you're doing and where you're going, whether you're going in the right direction and what your actual objective is you find pieces of paper that form this weird, like, in-universe, classic, like, NES-style game manual, as though... And, like, you're flipping through the pages of this manual, and there's, like, biro scribbles on top, like, clearly it's had a previous owner. So you're finding, like, this meta-reference layer of, like, the game manual for the game you're playing through the game itself. And even then, like, you're only finding individual pages, and it's still all written in another language. So you have to kind of, like, pass through this game manual. And people are saying, I never experienced this, when people are saying it's like when they used to import games from Japan and just be like, I have no idea what I'm playing or why, I don't understand the manual, but I'm going to figure this out. Except because this game is made to be played that way, and it's very carefully, that breadcrumb trail is very carefully laid out in front of you. It's all by design, which is probably why this game took so fucking long, and still fundamentally looks the same way it looked when we saw trailers 4 or 5 years ago. Because there's a very intricate design to this game, whether you end up playing it the way you're meant to be playing it, whether you intentionally sequence break, whether you accidentally sequence break. It's sort of this perfect marriage of Zelda fundamentals, and even like a Link's Awakening remake tilt shift style aesthetic with that Dark Souls sort of mysticism and those Soulsborne style mechanics and difficulty swings. It gets a big thumbs up, and from me, I really like it.
Have you gotten to any point where you're just hitting your head against the wall?
I stopped having died to a boss a number of times. I will say, one thing that some reviewers missed is that this game does have an accessibility menu, and one of the things in that accessibility menu is like an infinite health toggle. It's not ideal. I would have preferred a few other ways to kind of like create an experience more tuned to me. because I get this weird thing where I'm like, well, if I just make myself invincible, I'm not playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
So I haven't really engaged with that too much, but there have been very hard bosses.
Yeah, nice.
No doubt. And there have been times where I've been lost.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a lot going for it.
So this is prepping you for your Elden Ring run.
In many ways, yes. I think Elden Ring will require a lot more time and a lot more patience, but it's definitely prep in a way. And it's on Game Pass for anyone who's maybe on the fence or has access to Game Pass. Really,
there we go, shilling again, Jamie.
Hey, I mean, it's one of those things where, especially when the game is like 1 or 2 gigabytes, you'll be playing the game within like 30 seconds of launching it. Like, there really is no baggage with Tunic if you just want to try it out and see if it clicks with you.
To be fair, that's what I did with Death's Door, and I just didn't. I didn't have the grip with Death's Door, to use your analogy.
I'm wondering how my time with Tunic will affect my Death's Door grip.
I'd be so curious to find out what you think about the differences between them. In an ideal world it wouldn't be ideal because just not having Elden Ring. But in a world without Elden Ring, I probably would have jumped into Tunic and kind of seen the difference for myself and seen if kind of like I bounce off it or not. Yeah,
I think I want to say this is from memory though. I might be wrong. That Hood from the Discord has played both and has actually played more Tunic than me and prefers Death's Door for what that's worth.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that changes your thoughts on things.
Yeah, maybe I got to give Death's Door another try. I don't know.
Maybe.
You just got to be in the right mindset sometimes to kind of get into these games, right?
Exactly, especially when games are big or dense or rich in story, or maybe they just take a long fucking time to complete, and that's going to be something to consider before you jump in both feet first. And Chris, I'm sure that's something you've considered many times when it comes to a conversation I oversaw on Twitter this week revolving around the fact that you have never played The Witcher 3, for example.
I've never played a Witcher game, full stop, so yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think most people have only played The Witcher 3 at this stage.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't beat yourself up about that too much. But you might, as of this last handful of days, have found a new reason to go out and play The Witcher 3. Or maybe actually a reason why your decision to never play The Witcher 3 is reaffirmed and you feel like you don't need to touch it at all. Because CD Projekt Red are in fact coming back with a new Witcher game, but it will, quote, kick off a new saga. Which presumably means leaving behind Geralt and moving on to something new within the world of The Witcher. And the other big part of this headline is that it's being made with Epic's Unreal Engine, moving away from their own proprietary engine that not just ran The Witcher 3, but also recently ran Cyberpunk 2077.
Which is an interesting kind of thing on its own, right? Because I wonder if, like, I'm just getting flashbacks for all the research that we did on Frostbite Engine when we made how Frostbite Engine could kill BioWare, in particular with the failure of Anthem.
Right.
Maybe Red Engine is just not an easy engine to work with.
Maybe.
Or Epic just, which is what they all want to do, just threw shit ton of money at CDPR and just there you go. Use our engine, please. It's an interesting one for sure. Worth noting that it's not going to be an Epic Game Store exclusive, which is good.
It's not going to be an Epic Game Store exclusive, but they do still claim to be having an ongoing strategic partnership with Epic. And apparently it's been agreed for a 15-year period with an option to extend. So that's a big upfront commitment from both teams. And it does make you wonder, kind of like you hinted, Chris, who approached who first here? Who was the sort of the catalyst behind an agreement like this being reached? Who wanted the use of the Unreal Engine to be a focal point for this new project? I of course, selfishly, because I'm, at the end of the day, I'm the person that's going to be playing these video games. I kind of hope it's CD Projekt Red who approached Epic, who asked for the help, who asked for the support, and asked for the Unreal Engine. But you just don't know. Yeah,
you don't know. I mean, as you so eloquently put, I've never played a Witcher game, so I wouldn't know how excited I should be on this. Obviously, I know the or what would be the opposite of discourse? The course.
Discourse.
Right? Disco Elysium. I know all about the Disco Elysium about this game. All right.
Gotcha.
Like, people fucking love it. They hail it as like one of the best fucking things ever. And prior to Cyberpunk 2077, I think anyone could kind of look at that talk and say, yes, I believe it. I don't know. Like, the thing for me with The Witcher 3 is it's not that I never wanted to play it. It's just that, like, it's kind of like a game that never fell into my lap at the time that it should have been when I had the time to go for it. And now the prospect of kind of jumping into such a large game is like, I'm like insane. Like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I got seriously tempted to jump in it, as Alex would say, when it came out on Switch. As bad as that kind of like port looked.
Yeah, I did not have a great time with that port, but yeah.
Yeah, but the idea was just like, well, it's on the Switch. I can play it like in bed, last hour of the day, just fucking work my way through it.
And then you would have had the TV show, which has had like 2 seasons since those conversations around The Witcher on Switch. Or the Switch
I mean,
app,
I watched the first season of Witcher. I enjoyed it. Obviously, it's not based on the games. I started Witcher season 2, but I just kind of like, I wouldn't even say that I fell off it. I just got distracted and I never got back to it.
Yeah.
Because like those things are like an hour each, and it's kind of like,
Who has an hour, am I right?
Well, if you've got an hour, why not play a game?
I watched an hour of a TV show just before we jumped on the school, so check me out. Mr. Hot and Fresh at the Kitchen.
Mr. fucking Billy Big Balls. Okay.
You know me. But yes, I do concur that an hour can sometimes be a weird middle ground between, well, hang on a second, this is enough time to do way more stuff.
Yeah.
Than just watching an episode of a TV show. But I mean, it all still adds to the fuel for the Witcher fire.
Yeah, I think as long as they kind of, as long as it's more Witcher 3 than it is Cyberpunk, then I think they're in good stead. But, with all the stuff that happened with Cyberpunk, it's also worth noting that Witcher 3 didn't have a kind of rosy launch itself.
True.
I don't know. You're always hopeful for these kind of things. Like, even though I'm kind of like dissing Cyberpunk, like I still enjoy that game.
Yeah.
Or enjoyed it, not actively enjoying it. I did enjoy the time I had with it. Like, I don't know. It's good. It's nice to know that this is happening. But again, following the fucking trend of like, hey, we're making a new game. Come and work with us.
True, actually. Yeah, this is, I mean, what could have been a relatively large announcement in just about any form, no matter whether they tried to do it on their own or at another press conference, whether they did it in the off-season or during peak E3 fever. This could have been a whirlwind of an announcement. But you're right, it is yet another 2022 massive announcement that is just like, here's a tweet, we're making this. Like, I try and recall all the other examples, but it's getting to the stage now where I'd forget half of them.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. Ubisoft, Splinter Cell, Blizzard with their survival game.
Crysis 4 was one.
Yeah, fucking Crysis 4.
GTA 6, technically.
Yes, yeah. Like, those are big names. They're not like indie developers. Like,
yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
And it's weird because you only have to go back a little while. And I don't know why the 2 examples that come to my mind are from Nintendo, but I'm thinking about Bayonetta and Metroid Prime, where you literally just had to go away and do like create an After Effects composition, write the number 4, put on some weird like blue smoky shit, and you've made your Metroid Prime 4 like reveal.
Yeah, exactly. That would have like people tearing down the walls and shit. Funny that you say that. Like, one of my favorite TV shows ever is Lost. Okay, have you seen what the intro like logo for Lost is on the show?
No, I have not.
Okay, so it's just kind of like, it's just a black screen with white 3D text that says Lost, but like the camera kind of like zooms in on it and then goes past it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, like very, very fucking simple, but it's like out of focus and it comes into focus and then out of focus again very quickly.
Yeah.
And like, what was funny about that was it was J.J. Abrams, I believe, mocked it up in After Effects, like in like 25 minutes or some shit like that. And that was the logo they used for what at the time was the world's biggest TV show.
I just watched it. I can't believe I've never seen this before. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, and the most expensive at the time, the most expensive TV show ever made. Okay, and that's what they used. And what really fucking annoyed me about it was there's an error in the render, Jamie. Okay.
Oh my god!
If you imagine like the top, the foreground of the text and then the side vertical of the text, there's a point where it doesn't connect as it goes past the camera, and they never fixed it in what was it like 5-6 seasons?
I mean, I'm going through it frame by frame now, and there are even jaggies here. Like it's not it's not the smoothest render.
It's not anti-aliased. It's like I like it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, like just put a bit more fucking effort into it, you know, like. But at the same time, I do kind of like appreciate the fact that they never fixed it, ever.
Yeah, like I admire that commitment.
You know, it's like, yeah, it took me 25 minutes in After Effects. It cost me 0, and that's what we're using. It's like, yeah, okay, that's balls, yeah.
And like, I'm not going to say whether or not tweeting out the announcement of a new game in a significant and large franchise like this is also ballsy, but I guess it's something to it. Although the sort of the underlying thing here is presumably, again, if we're going to believe a lot of the sort of rhetoric and discussion that's surrounded these announcements over the last handful of months, is apparently recruitment at certain levels in game development is quite difficult right now, and putting it bluntly, being able to say to people, hey, come and work on the new Witcher game is a lot easier than being able to say to people, hey, come and work on a game.
Yeah, true.
I don't know, but that's what the word out there is, and at least
a part of me though, like kind of like laments the loss here, right? Like if you think about, if you think about like the first teaser cinematic you got for God of War 2016, for instance.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm with you.
Where you didn't know it was God of War until fucking Kratos came out, and you're like, fuck. Like, that was a moment, right?
Yes.
Or like the first or the second trailers for The Last of Us Part 2, where you had no fucking clue what that was. And then it just kind of like slams on, fucking bam, Last of Us Part 2, like, oh, fuck. Like, what's that all about? And even to go so far as to saying, like, the Death Stranding trailer.
Yeah.
Like, that was a little bit different because, like, oh, Hideo Kojima and his new thing. But like, having the fact of, like, watching an E3, which is, like, no longer a thing, right? And queuing up all of these trailers one by one, seeing something absolutely fucking amazing, getting some kind of an awesome fucking reveal, and that has now just been distilled to a picture in a tweet asking people to come join them to make the game. Like, something's like getting lost there.
It sucks some of the kind of the anticipation and the excitement out of the air. I suppose the only thing I can think of, and maybe this is me just trying to reassure myself and not cry myself to sleep tonight, but it's that they're taking the kind of they're taking the open secret nature out of some of these reveals and just putting them out in the open. Like if I came up to you last week and was like, yo, Chris, CD Projekt Red are going to make another Witcher, you'd be like, yeah, I know. Even though you didn't know, you knew. And maybe this is an element of them getting out in front of that open secret nature and hoping, praying, that when the time comes for that first big, even if it is still entirely CG and doesn't give much away, but that first big trailer for, say, a new Witcher saga or a new Witcher game, that it still gets that big pop, that sort of feeling of like, okay, yeah, they told us to expect this, but I'm still seeing it now and it's tangible and it's real. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's just me sort of like reassuring myself, because I love big E3 pops. I love those moments. But we'll see. Like certainly Rockstar's approach lends a lot that they still have the world in their palms when it comes to the first actual GTA 6 announcement, trailer, image, cover, like whatever it is. Like the internet will blow up when that happens.
Yeah,
they haven't 100%. Shot themselves in the foot there. I guess the only other bits and pieces about this game to mention is that it's being directed by the wonderfully named Jason Slammer, but I'm going to pronounce it Jason Slammer, Basically, it just sounds like he's, I don't know, like a wrestler or something.
Slammer jammer.
Yeah, like a bad slammer jammer.
Yeah.
Who was apparently a senior UI programmer on The Witcher 3, and the game director on the card game Gwent, which, again, interesting little sort of rise to the occasion there. From Gwent.
I love that he was a senior user interface programmer.
Yes, which I don't know if anyone remembers the UI at launch for The Witcher 3, but that thing... let's just say, if the speed with which a development team patches something is any indicator of how they themselves feel about it, it might not have been the best UI going at launch. He's also been CD Projekt Red's director of live operations in the past. Which live operations CD Projekt Red have pulled off? I couldn't tell you one. I presume that's also a Gwent thing, but fuck only knows. Yeah. He's directing this new Witcher game. More power to him. Other thing, don't call it The Witcher 4, because apparently, according to Twitter, it's not. This is like Mass Effect, where they were like, the trilogy's over. Commander Shepard, or in this case, Geralt, is dead. It's moving on. So
Witcher Andromeda.
The Witcher Andromeda. We were exactly on the same page for that one.
Nice. I like it.
Yes, you're gonna create your own character at the start of the game, and they're gonna wake up from cryo sleep with a weird fucked up look on their face, and every NPC you're gonna interact with is gonna have these weird glass eyeballs.
Yeah, and saying, sorry, my face is tired.
Yes, sorry, my face is tired. Do you know who was in that game? That fucking... I forgot his name now.
Nanjiani?
Yeah, Kumail Nanjiani was in that game.
Yeah.
I feel a bit sorry for him. Like, imagine being a massive Mass Effect fan, getting asked to do a voice for Andromeda. Be like, fuck yeah. And then...
he was like an alien shopkeeper.
Yeah, we spoke to him when we still did the Let's Plays in Andromeda at All Time Gaming. We did come across him.
Yeah.
Yes. So, something to look forward to. Again, we don't know what it's going to be called. We don't know when it's going to come out. We don't know what platforms it's going to come out on. But keep an eye out for the next chapter of the Witcher saga. And Chris, I'm going to inform you that's not all we have to look out for in the coming months, years. I don't even know what time frame to give for that.
Well, I should hope that there's more stuff to look forward to, Jamie.
There's lots more stuff to look forward to, because it turns out game studios are making games. And one game publisher that is hard at work on a number of different titles is our old friends Ubisoft.
Wow. Okay, I would have thought they just would have packed it in.
Yeah, they gave it their best shot last year. It didn't really work out, so they're like, do you know what? Enough's enough. Riders Republic. That's all we got. See you next year, folks.
Yeah, exactly. They've stopped making games on the Wii, so they're like, well, we can't sell another Just Dance on the Wii, so fine.
The rabbits have already crossed over into Mario territory. We can't get them back now. Ongoing legal battle with Nintendo. It's a wash. No, in fact, if you believe the words of industry insider Tom Henderson as he writes for Xfire, apparently Ubisoft are not just working on a lot of different projects, which, let's be honest, we already knew because we've analysed Ubisoft's comings and goings a lot on this podcast, but also that they might be working on some kind of summer or pre-summer show that will actually reveal a large amount of games. Apparently they could have... I can't remember if it's 20 or 30. I think it's up to 20 titles reportedly in some form of development. Christ. I know, right? So I thought we'd talk about some of the ones that were perhaps not public knowledge that have been rumoured as a part of this report. And one that I thought would be an interesting place to start with is, and it's a shame we don't have Jonesy here for this, but alongside the planned Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake that is currently being adjusted so it doesn't look like a piece of shit and will supposedly rear its head at some point this year, we may also be getting a 2.5D, sort of old school, if you will, inspired Prince of Persia game that takes inspiration from Moon Studios' Ori series, which, again, maybe it's just because I'm a huge Ori fan, but as soon as I hear that, my ears and eyes do light up, just a little.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of seem to make sense, like mushing those things together. Yeah, fair. I mean,
I think because I also feel like when you have fucking the Ori series there, but you could also point to other things like, I don't know why Hollow Knight comes to mind, but like the space for 2D adventure games, especially when you push them into that Metroidvania style of game design, I think has grown exponentially, even in just the last handful of years. And if they were going to use that as a way to sort of revitalize the old school style 2D, or in this case 2.5D Prince of Persia games, I'd be all over it. I'd be more excited for this than a new 3D Prince of Persia. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I can see that logic, and I can probably get on board with that. I just kind of feel that, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of a little bit fatigued with this 2.5D Metroidvania style, this, that, the other.
That's also a completely fair take, to be honest. Well, then maybe.
But then again, like, if you had to tell me, okay, well then, what would you do with Prince of Persia? I probably wouldn't know what to tell you.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess so. Do you know what? Maybe their safe bet would be to do what it seems like they're not doing, and just waiting to see what happens with the remake, and then working from there. Like using that as a way of gauging, okay, how many people are actually still interested in Tomb Raider, and then figuring out a way forward.
Actually, I have a thought.
Yes.
Or what you could do. But it kind of goes into, I guess, the next point on the podcast document. So go ahead, carry on, and then I'll interject when it's the time.
Well, what I was going to do is I'm going to play a little game. What's the name of the roles of the people who are brought in? They're like external to a company, and you're brought in to like kind of give advice and feedback on stuff, but not necessarily in a QA perspective. You're like a consultant. You're a consultant.
Consultant, yeah.
So let's role play for a second. I'm Yves Guillemot, Ubisoft CEO. You're a consultant that's been brought in. No, I'm not. It's too long a segment. Too long a segment. Okay. I'll do it just to say hello, Chris. That's my introduction to you.
I got a bit of a chubby there, so.
See, maybe just take that mental image, that audio mental image, and just apply it for everything I'm about to say for the next 5 minutes.
Okay, fine. It is
You're a consultant.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. You've been brought in by Ubisoft. We're going to run our entire docket by you, and you're going to tell us whether or not it gets you hard. Basically. Okay. So on a scale of like 0 would be like it's actually you're actually going a little bit like concave, inside. Like it's going back inside you. Yeah. And then 10 is like I'm actually like
I'm hitting myself in the forehead with it.
Right, exactly. Like you've made a crack in the ceiling. Skull and Bones. So long time thought to be perhaps completely missing in action is actually apparently back on track. It's found its home as a multiplayer first title with a focus on ship combat. Currently no on-land action at all. Could potentially be coming out by spring of next year.
Okay. 2
out of 10.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why, Jamie. I'll tell you why. Because ship battles suck. Okay?
Agreed.
I said it. Okay? And I don't care. You can fucking disguise it as much as you want with some RPG mechanics and some fucking cool sea shanties, but ship combat is terrible. Okay? And if you tell me that is the entire game, that you're not going to set foot on land, because do you remember when Skull and Bones came out and it was like, oh, they're just taking Black Flag and just like making their own game of it. And then Assassin's Creed Odyssey had a lot of that kind of like ship sailing elements, which was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And you could kind of see potential.
Yes.
But like, maybe for me personally, I think the pirate genre, even though it's underserved, doesn't really capture my attention as much as, let's say, other kind of genres. Maybe that's just because there aren't that many of them about. Fair. You tell me that it's going to be completely ship-based. It's like, I don't give a fuck.
That's the word. Which, hey, for what it's worth, I did really like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but I'm also with you. The idea of a multiplayer-focused, completely ship-based Skull and Bones, I'm kind of like tagging out before I've even touched it.
Yeah, ship-based, more like shit-based.
Okay. Speaking of ship-based.
Shit-faced. There we go, yep.
Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Apparently, that's actually going to be having playtests as soon as this week with external QA. We should see it soon. How much do you want to play an Avatar game from Massive Entertainment?
I'm going to give we're hot takes, right? Trash opinions, hot takes. So I'm going to give you the example of that. 0.
That's a 0. Wow. That's...
Okay. There are certain things that I might have liked in my life where I look back on them with pity in my heart. And I think Avatar is one of them.
Does that 0 extend to the Avatar sequels?
Here's the thing. It's almost like what you said in terms of like, okay, to an extent, Elden Ring, but also you say like Outer Wilds, where there will be these highly regarded things where everyone will go watch them. So you're like, okay, Avatar, everyone's watching them. I'm gonna go watch them. It's gonna be the pinnacle of a 3D kind of film. And 3D film didn't go anywhere. It started, like it got a resurgence with Avatar. That's why it was so successful. And then no one kind of managed to capitalize on that again. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
the zeitgeist is going to push me to watch it, but and I might perfectly enjoy those films, but it's just all a bit fucking cringe.
It's never going to feel the same. Like, it's never going to be like.
No. But like even I look at, like, I think back on like Game of Thrones and how fucking into Game of Thrones, and this is where I'm going to get a lot of kind of hate mail, I'm sure. Game of Thrones is absolutely amazing. Okay, and it really is. And there were elements of that last season that I really fucking adored. But overall, you look back on the discourse, and you hate to say it, but you almost get swayed by the discourse, and you think to yourself, on one aspect, it's like, no, I'm proud to have like enjoyed that, but another aspect, you're like, why was I so fucking into it? I'm an idiot,
Mm.
And that certainly holds true for fucking Avatar. Anyway, go on.
Let me rattle off a few more.
Guys, please don't send me hate mail. Okay, it's just one man's.
No, please send them hate mail, but like actual physical hate mail. Like, try and like figure out Chris's address. Like, don't fuck with cats. Look at the portrait behind him. Look at the headphones he's wearing. Look at his glasses. Figure out where he lives and send him some fucking hate mail. Don't actually do that, of course.
Please
don't do that. What if I were to tell you, Chris, that Immortals: Phoenix Rising was going to get a sequel?
I'd say good.
Okay, nice.
I think, yeah, if I had to give a scale, I would give it a 7, but if I want to be generous where I've been harsh in the past, I'd say let's give it an 8, okay? Because, you know what? By all accounts, Immortals: Phoenix Rising was like a nice surprise. And
I agree.
Why not reward that kind of risk, especially from a company like Ubisoft that don't necessarily do those kinds of things? Yes, you are encouraging Ubisoft to do a sequel, which is like the thing we don't want them to be doing. But a sequel on a risk that they took to begin with, I think that should be celebrated.
Okay, well, here's another risk that I wonder if you'll celebrate.
Hold on, this is where I interject, because wouldn't Prince of Persia fit into that Immortals: Phoenix Rising kind of mold?
I don't know if it would, because Immortals: Phoenix Rising, when you take out some of the character and the writing and the aesthetic that they brought to it, was still an Assassin's Creed Odyssey inspired experience with a hint of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to see the prince like running around and climbing mountains and like fooling around in an open world. I still want the prince to have a more structured experience, a more linear experience. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't feel like I need an open world Prince of Persia game. It was the same, remember when we were talking about Splinter Cell, and one of the big things was like, hey, please don't open worldify Splinter Cell for the sake of it. And then apparently not going to. Well, definitely not if it's a remake of the first one. I feel the same way about Prince. And Prince of Persia, for example.
I think less so. I was hoping like less so for a Ubisoft open world and more so like a Breath of the Wild inspired one. I think there could be potential there, especially if they keep the kind of Sands of Time element going in.
I mean, if it's good, there's potential for anything. Like, you give me any intellectual property in the world and put it in a good Breath of the Wild style open world, then we're talking like dollars and cents.
All right,
but
cool. Go, hit me.
This is a weird one, an ambitious one. I think we talked about it on the podcast before, but Assassin's Creed and Infinity, the idea that products in the future will tie a bunch of Assassin's Creed titles together in a big live service title that will essentially act as a hub for the series that will then see players transported to different settings, different times, and content can be gradually added to it over the years. Why have you got that smug look on your face?
It's a no for me, dog.
Is it another 0? Is your penis back inside your body?
Maybe not a 0, because like Assassin's Creed is a formula that can be entertaining, even though it's been kind of like milked out. But you don't have to look far back to be what I consider to be like a really good Assassin's Creed, which is Odyssey. You know? Like that's not that far back. Just the way that they're going about it, and to be fair, we don't have official kind of wording on like we have official wording, but it's more like, hey, this is kind of what we're trying to do, but like it hasn't been fully spelled out for us. We don't have the full alphabet, okay?
Yes,
we've got a couple of letters here and there.
Yeah.
from what it sounds like, it's just a fucking platform for more Ubisoft bullshit with regards to monetization. And I don't think that the gaming industry needs that. And if I'm perfectly honest, I've never been that hot on Assassin's Creed myself as a kind of like thing. So
I'll be honest, Chris, if you've never been hot on Assassin's Creed and you're worried Infinity might be a weird way for Ubisoft just to monetize that franchise and squeeze every penny even further, you're not going to like this next one because it's Assassin's Creed Rift, which was the game that was first reported in January, started life as DLC for Valhalla, and is presumably at this point getting spun off into its own standalone game to make up for the fact that
they already did that with the fucking Ragnarok bullshit, right?
No, Ragnarok is technically DLC. You need Valhalla to. I don't think Ragnarok's standalone.
Right.
I might be mistaken, but the rumor is that Rift is standalone, and that this was essentially promoted to such a title because the Infinity, which you talked about before, is further away than anticipated. So they needed something to kind of
stopgap.
Yeah, but this is going to focus on Basim, who's a character who is featured prominently in Valhalla, and probably be a slightly smaller, maybe even slightly more linear, stealth-focused Assassin's Creed title. Anything, like even a murmur.
I'll give you a 4 on that, okay? Because I think I think where Assassin's Creed could go like really fucking well is a more curated experience rather than an open world thing.
Yes.
Okay. But there is the cynic in me who's like, yeah, but this is just their stopgap. Like they need to do something, or they feel like they need to release an Assassin's Creed because like what is the world going to do? The world's going to stop turning unless there's a fucking Assassin's Creed, right?
Yes.
So
we'll find out. I don't think they want to risk it.
Risk it for a biscuit. All right, what's next? Hit me up.
Do you know what? I'm gonna to make sure this segment doesn't drag too much.
Yeah,
let's say that
rapid fire.
Going deep into the future, there are obviously things like Beyond Good and Evil 2, the Splinter Cell remake.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but
and massive entertainment Star Wars game.
Yeah, but that's going to be far off, right? So
exactly, all three of those are going to be way far off. Roller Champions apparently still exists. Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope obviously still exists, and will hopefully be good. Yeah. There's going to be a third Crew title.
Yeah, sure. But let's put in more influencer bullshit in there.
Yeah, big time. But Chris, the note that I actually wanted to end this all on is by mentioning a trio of free-to-play titles that we know about, but one of which I think will be of particular interest to you. First of all, The Division Heartland, which again is a free-to-play title in the Division universe. Then you have Ghost Recon Frontline, which is the kind of the strange game that at one point had plans to have a public test.
And then now they pulled it back like a week before or whatever.
It has had closed tests, and some gameplay did leak from that, but no one really knows where it is. But the thing I really wanted to gauge your opinion on, Chris, is
X-Defiant.
Can I sway your opinion on X-Defiant by telling you that apparently, according to this report, it has dropped the Tom Clancy branding, and it is now simply just X-Defiant?
I mean,
just because I remember that was a point of contention.
It is a point of contention, and the fact that they, let's say that it's true, the report's true that they've removed Tom Clancy from the name, just goes to show how right we were.
Yeah.
But if we're right about that, we're probably right about all the other issues we had with that reveal and that game, and it didn't just come down to Tom Clancy stuff. I mean, Jamie, it's still like, God, I can't even remember what it was now, but it's still a hardcore tactical shooter with the mosh pit aesthetic,
punk rock
right?
mosh pit.
Punk, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, do you ever just get the feel that like everyone at Ubisoft just kind of goes to the bathrooms and smokes up crack or something, and then just goes before they go into the like pitch meetings, and then they're just all hopped up, and then they're just kind of like blurt shit out.
I think there's a little bit of that. I think I'd mix it with the fact, like, yes, they're all on crack, but they're also all like 50-year-olds on crack, at least at the decision-making level. And they go, they get high and they say to themselves, you know what the kids love? Punk rock. And then someone else on the other side of the room goes, what about mosh pits? And they go, yeah, but if you mix them both in a free-to-play first-person shooter? And they're like, yeah, okay. Well, that's, you throw enough buzzwords together, eventually you'll have a game.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, okay? What was the last Ubisoft game that you genuinely adored?
Oh my god.
I'll tell you, mine was Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey would be up there for me. Watch Dogs Legion didn't really do it for me. Assassin's Creed Valhalla didn't really do it for me. Riders Republic was onto something, but I never exposed myself to it, or vice versa, for long enough for it to fully take hold.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is Odyssey. I'm trying to think about what came out when now as well.
Immortals Phoenix Rising was after Odyssey.
Yeah, but I'd be lying if I said I unequivocally loved that. I didn't even finish it in the end.
Well,
I thought it was good.
You can love a game that you don't have to finish.
I liked Odyssey a lot more than I liked Immortals Phoenix Rising. The best part of Immortals Phoenix Rising often reminded me of Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was trying to think about was, and it was definitely, I'm pretty sure it was before Odyssey, was when, in fact it had to have been before Odyssey, was when the first Mario & Rabbids came out. Because again, I thought that was a unique blend of two different IPs, admittedly one of which, the far better one, was not theirs, which helps. But then, I don't know, I don't know, like, I didn't play Siege, I didn't like the new Rainbow Six, I think Ghost Recon Breakpoint was a mess. Ghost Recon Wildlands was better, but not perfect. For Honor didn't do it for me.
Was that after...
Division 2 was while we were at ATG. That had to have been spring 2019.
Yeah, but that's after Odyssey?
I think that's before Odyssey. Not by much, but I think that's before Odyssey.
Yeah. Because I know you're really big into Division 2.
I'm a big, unapologetically big Division fan. And like the Division 3 was announced this year. That would be a huge deal for me. I worry at Massive Entertainment I've got a bit too much on. I'm looking through anything we missed. Obviously, we don't touch Just Dance. Jonesy did play Star Trek Bridge Crew, but I don't think there was anything to write home about there. Starlink was a flop. Trials Rising was a disappointing Trials game.
Yeah.
Obviously, Far Cry hasn't really set the world on fire for a little while now. I know some people really like Far Cry 5, but I wasn't even that crazy about Far Cry 5.
But you get the point. I'm kind of trying to...
I know you're right. Division 2 was after Odyssey.
Yeah.
So it would be the Division 2, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. You're right. They are treading water at the moment by releasing solid games that just don't stick at all.
Yeah.
And I hope they change that. Somewhere between that list of games we just ran through. I hope there's the answer.
Hopefully they get it sorted by the time they whip out a fucking Splinter Cell remake.
Exactly. Because Lord knows, Chris, that times can be tough out there, and even the best and most revered of franchises can take a turn for the worst when bad decisions, or perhaps more to the point, bad business decisions, can be allowed to interfere with that game's flow and everything that game has going for it once you're actually playing with the controller in your hand. And that was regrettably the case when it comes to one of the most, if not the most revered racing franchise, potentially of all time. You think about longevity, you think about history, you think about its significance, its importance within the annals of, if not gaming history, then certainly Sony and PlayStation's gaming history. I'm afraid to say, Chris, the good name of Gran Turismo has been besmirched in this past week. As a result, Gran Turismo 7 has now become Sony's lowest ever user score on Metacritic.
Yeah. I mean, this breaks my heart, Jamie.
I think it breaks all our heart, whether you're a Gran Turismo fan or you just want the best for good video games and just video games in general. Yeah. This is a heartbreaker.
It's surprising, and I don't know where the blame lies, if it's from Polyphony or if it's from Sony themselves.
Yes.
But it is just heartbreaking. It's like a step backwards for the industry. And it is definitely it's a scar on the legacy of Gran Turismo. Like, I was really fucking looking forward to this game. And like, from what I'm hearing of it, obviously, you know, you got to experience it for yourself to see how badly it goes up against you. But like, coming off of like a fairly disappointing Gran Turismo Sport, and just wanting like a really good mainline Gran Turismo in Gran Turismo 7 that looks as fucking good and is as technically kind of sound as you want from a Gran Turismo game, to hear that they're putting in all these like weird pushes for games microtransactions, like it's just fucking heartbreaking.
So to break down for anyone that missed exactly what's going on with GT7 at the moment, a lot of the fallout in the past week has kind of been there's been two main reasons for it. One of them perhaps slightly more significant than the other, though. Starting with the lesser one, there was an issue in the past week where after I think a patch that was pushed out broke some features or made some features unreliable in a way that actually got Polyphony worried about the game's stability. There was actually a 24-hour down period between the 17th and the 18th of March, where, because the game was essentially taken offline, most of the game's content was unplayable because of the significant amount of content that requires an internet connection to access, which of course raised a whole bunch of questions around always online gaming, the amount of content locked behind an internet connection, and how you're meant to sort of preserve games and look after games going forward when the servers being switched off means that much for a game's experience. But there were also other issues that, as Chris mentioned, were tied to microtransactions, some of which were even worsened by that latest patch, which took the game to version 1.07. So for anyone who didn't know, there were actually microtransactions in the game from the very beginning. They were criticized from the very beginning. They allowed people to essentially buy a currency, which then allowed them to buy cars. For anyone wondering, it was reported that some of Gran Turismo 7's cars cost as much as 8 times what they did on GT Sport if you were to purchase them exclusively using real money. GT Sport was technically the last in the Gran Turismo series, even though it wasn't numbered.
Yeah.
So as if that wasn't bad enough, as if the cost of the cars hadn't dramatically increased so much between titles, that patch actually reduced the payout of several races and also took 2 late game races that people were using to farm credits and quote unquote fixed it, which again, to what extent
which means that they nerfed it because they didn't want people taking advantage.
Yes,
and
exactly.
this is the aspect that is most disappointing to me. Like, look, in today's day and age, I think we just have to get used to the idea of content behind an online internet connection. Okay, like that's where we are, and that's where it's headed, and we just have to kind of like make peace with that. What you can't make peace with is just scummy microtransaction stuff. And especially if like it's so bad that people start exploiting your game, that shouldn't happen to begin with. Your microtransaction shouldn't be so bad that it forces people to exploit the game just to unlock the content that they should be getting. And what's even worse to that is then patching out that exploit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I know
it's tone deaf.
It's super tone deaf. And you know what? Thank God Elden Ring is as fucking juggernaut and behemoth as it is, because there's a £50, $50 game, okay, on next gen that doesn't have any microtransactions, that can keep you playing for 100 hours plus, you know. And yes, they're tinkering behind the hood, but it's nothing malicious. There's, you know, like it's almost like a rare breed. Like, why? It should show the industry that you don't need fucking scummy microtransactions to do it. And you know what? Like, I've been on record before saying, you know what? There's actually nothing wrong with microtransactions as long as they're done right. But as soon as microtransactions start altering gameplay decisions, you're in for a bad time. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Especially like you talk about like the patching element to this. You see it so many times, especially in games where, you know, there's an element of acquiring and equipping different gear or different loot and making builds. And how many times you see games that have so many glaring problems, bugs, glitches that are in desperate needs of fixing, and yet a patch will come out, doesn't touch any of them, but you read the patch notes and we're like, oh yeah, we've completely nerfed this. Like at some point, it's like they're more interested and more concerned with protecting the investment that they're trying to acquire from players than they are in, you know, the actual best interests of the game and what makes it fun and what makes the best experience possible for the people that, don't forget, in this case, across the board, invested a significant amount just to start playing the game. This isn't a free-to-play title protecting its microtransactions. This is a next-gen title that costs God knows how much.
And And not only that, it's a marquee title for PlayStation, right? It is PlayStation's racing game.
Like Gran Turismo is the most like you have to protect it. It's like a national treasure.
Let's put a foil from Gran Turismo to Forza Horizon, where it's like when you're playing it, it's like fucking spin the wheel, get another fucking car every 2 minutes, right?
It was
like
throwing cars at you.
Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't need to go this way. And look, I get it. You got to make your money and you got to make your investment back. And there's always that thing of microtransactions and the whales. And like I said, there's not in theory, there's nothing wrong with having a good old microtransaction being in your game. But like, I don't know, man. It's just not fair. It's not right. And if it was on Sony's part, shame on Sony. It's very uncharacteristic of them. If it's on Polyphony, I'm surprised that Sony didn't intervene.
Yeah, but what's a bummer is that like you wonder what it will take to get through, because we talk about how much noise we can make and how much of a stink we can make, but like we've communicated our issues with this in some ways before. You talk about now we're having a conversation around the lowest ever user score on Metacritic for a Sony title or a PlayStation title. Before, we've talked about the most downvoted comment in Reddit history when it referred to Star Wars Battlefront 2. We've used, at least online, exactly, we've used our powers to communicate our dissatisfaction with something. And also, like you said, with its Elden Ring and beyond, there have been countless examples of microtransaction-free products that have come out being exactly what they are as advertised, and sold unbelievably well, not necessarily as a result of that or as a byproduct of that, but in spite of that. And yet, no matter how much communicating we do, whether it's online with our voices or with the games we play and the games we support with our wallets, the problem only seems to worsen. And I'm trying my best not to be disheartened that Gran Turismo 7 of all games is being sullied by these issues, but it is kind of like... It's a real shame.
But Jamie, it's Gran Turismo, dude. They didn't need to do it.
No, not at all.
Like, it is the premier PlayStation fucking racing game. They don't need to do it. It's not like, let's say, fucking dropping a new Assetto Corso that needs, like, it's a very niche audience to kind of, like, be rinsed so it can make a profit, like, okay, Assetto Corso is probably a bad idea because, like, iRacing and stuff. But
sure.
But would you get the idea? Like a new Project Gotham Racing would be like really fucking cool. People would really be into it, but it's not Gran Turismo levels.
No, especially
it's not Forza levels. It's just not.
But even the fact that we're talking about cars in a racing game doesn't sit well with me, because most other games have realized over the last couple of years, like, okay, we need to avoid a pay-to-win conversation here. We need to make sure that there are no gameplay-altering elements that are for sale. And they've learned, okay, like we talk about Ubisoft, for example, and how ridden with microtransactions their stuff are. At least they, in most cases, have gone like, okay, we need to make this a fucking cosmetic thing. Otherwise, people are going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
When you're selling cars, fundamentally, even if they're not exclusively acquirable by microtransactions, but if you're selling them and also nerfing the rates at which people can make the credits that they need to buy them, you're incentivizing people to spend real money on one of the things that is... I mean, even the sentence I was about to say, describing cars as fundamental to a racing game, sounds dumb. They are the game.
Yeah, they are. It's like,
crazy.
Yeah, you don't have a steering wheel on this, but you have to buy it.
It's mental. And it's a real shame. It's for anyone wondering, by the way, at the time of recording, Gran Turismo 7 hit a user score of 2.5 out of 10, which appears, at least, to put it below every game on Metacritic's 27-year history of tracking games released on the PlayStation. For those of you wondering who else was nearby, or at least in the conversation, World of Warriors on PS4 held a 2.9. NBA 10, The Inside, the PlayStation Portable, or the PSP to the cool kids, was at a 3.0. And the PlayStation 1 smash hit Cool Borders 2001 has a 3.3, although it's worth noting that all of those games have basically a handful of user reviews, resulting in those averages. Gran Turismo 7, over 3,600.
I mean, it's obviously a review bomb, but warranted.
Yes.
It's not
you've got to communicate this stuff. You have to communicate this stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God, that was so out of date. It's at the time of recording, it's actually on a 1.5
Whoa.
After 8,500 ratings. That is unfathomably low. But there you go.
That is mad. That is madness.
Yes,
I could just imagine there's probably an executive at EA who's like fucking wiping the sweat off of his brow because he was so close to kind of doing the same thing on the next Need for Speed.
Yeah, but you also must wonder as well if there are people at Sony who were like, hang on a second, we went through everything we went through. We did whether it's The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima and God of War and. I don't know, just ad nauseum. Like, I don't remember any of those games having microtransactions, or at least not intrusive ones. Like, why this? Why this? Like, what happened?
I don't get it, dude. Maybe the pre-orders weren't enticing enough.
I don't know, dude.
Like, trying to understand this is like fucking trying to lick your elbows. It's not going to happen, right? Like, it just
true.
But like I said, I don't understand why Sony lets it happen, whether from their side or from the developer side. Like, I just don't get it.
I don't know. And it will be interesting to keep tabs on this and see how much further Gran Turismo 7's reputation can be dragged through the mud, and if someone has to reverse course on this.
Do you know what I'm saying, Jamie? Like, I'm not going to buy this game.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to either, so I'm not going to make a comment. But
I was, because like I like to have a racing game in my life, right? But
yeah. You're an old school GT fan. You own a PS5. Like, this could have been something that you picked up at some point.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's like not a day one purchase because obviously it's like fucking Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But like you're right. It's like a no-brainer. It's like you have a PlayStation. You get the Gran Turismo for that PlayStation.
Yeah. Exactly.
I had GT Sport. Like, it wasn't great.
No, like I think the idea of like a large number of console owners wanting a high quality racing sim experience on that console is not crazy. It's a bit of a PS2 idea, but I don't think it's completely died out.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's a real shame. And like I said, we'll keep tabs on it. And if anything changes, if anyone reverses course, if the currency reward rates are pumped back up, or the microtransaction focus is watered down, you'll be the first to know, because we'll tell you.
Oh yeah, baby. Unless we've got other stuff to tell you.
Unless we have other stuff to tell you. And hey, that all depends on what happens in any given week. And we just don't know. We're going to figure out as it comes, which is going to exactly be the case over the next 7 days as we keep an eye on the news, see what happens, see what gets talked about. We'll scour the internet as we always do. And we'll come back this time next week with another hot load of news stories and hot takes and reactions to give you. So if you want to, make sure you catch that, then you're already in the right place.
Yeah. And can I say, if you think that we should start every single podcast with, what's up, motherfuckers?
I don't really remember. With Chris, I can say this with hindsight, because it's always 2020. The first half an hour of this podcast, fucking train wreck. Absolute train wreck. I wanted to start again the whole time.
If you had said that you wanted to, I probably would have let you, to be fair.
Oh, why did you tell me that now? We could have done it all over. Now it's way too deep.
All right, let's start again, Jamie. Let's start again.
Okay. Jonesy, if you're editing this was the take not to use. Whatever you do, don't upload this version of the podcast. Chris and I are going to record another better version right now, and that will be the version to upload. We're going to clearly label it. Hopefully there's no confusion.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Jonesy.
Yeah, cheers, mate.